Okay, today we're going to continue our series that we're in that's talking about the traditional stock market investing versus cryptocurrency investing or Bitcoin investing, and the differences and kind of some comparisons between the two. On our previous video, we talked about mainly access, how the average ordinary guy on the street, girl on the street has access to the ICO, which is the equivalent of the traditional stock market IPO. The IPO, the traditional stock market, in so many ways is locked off to the average individual investor trying to get started. You have to be sophisticated, you have to be a great client, you have to be well connected, you have to have a lot of money. That's who that game's for. That game is written for the rich, designed by the rich, designed to block off everyone who's not a part of that big boys club, so to speak. Now, let's talk about the differences in market growth and market potential. Now, so right here on the screen, I have a video. This is a video showing, I'm sorry, I have a picture. This is a picture showing the different stock exchanges. Now, I'll make a point here in a moment. Now, this is talking about, all the stocks, the market capitalization, meaning the value of all of the stocks on the stock market. I'm not certain what date this is. I just Googled it, and this is a great picture to show it. So they're showing that this is numbers in billions. So they're showing this is basically 18,000 billion, or the same thing as $18 trillion. Is the total, value, if you will, of all of the stocks traded on the New York Stock Exchange. NASDAQ is 7 trillion or 7,000 billion. TMX is 1 trillion, basically. Total in the U.S. is basically 28 trillion. Oh, I can't do that. It's $28 trillion over here on the right-hand side of the screen. Is $28 trillion is the total market capitalization. Now, keep paying attention. I'm going to show you some other things. This is the Middle East. They're at 1.4 trillion. Europe's at 13 trillion. The U.S. is obviously the biggest. Japan is at 23 trillion. Okay. Total size is $69 trillion. So if you're investing in the stock market world, I mean, how much bigger can this thing get? How much value can be pumped in it? The NASDAQ and the Dow Jones, I mean, that's been going on, the US stock market's been going on since what, early 1900s, I think. So I mean, how much it's well established. It was much more volatile in the early days. It was spiking and shrinking way back when. Now it's, hang on, is Japan bigger than 23 total? Where are we at? 28 total. Okay. I mean China, but anyway, is it Japan? Asia. Okay. Anyway, the how much bigger can the market get? It's already at $69 trillion. Can the market double? Well, it's been this big after all these years. If it does double, it's not going to double no time soon. How many more people have got to get invested in the market for it to double, for example? So this thing is massive. It's huge. In some ways, there's potential for stability in your investments, but in my opinion, stability also means lack of potential growth as well. Now, that's definitely a trade-off. Now, keep in mind, I'm not trying to give you investment advice. Consider anything I say as total satire and hogwash. This is one man's opinion. I encourage you to do your own research, but this is my opinion and my viewpoint. Take a look at the cryptocurrency space, though. This is the coin market cap as it stands. The coin market cap right now today is sitting at, the total value is 172 billion. 172 billion. Now earlier this year this was sitting at 50 billion, so it's basically tripled this year, more than tripled. But 172 billion. It's not even one, it's just over 1/10 of a trillion. I mean, it would take 1,000 billion to equal 1 trillion. This market has so much more room to grow. Now, you may be saying, Jackie, you're saying that it can grow to 69 trillion. You think it can get that big? Well, listen. Let me just show you again. I absolutely believe the rosiest possible thing that could happen is that it could get to $69 trillion market cap, and I'll explain why in a moment. But that is the absolute best possible case scenario. You imagine all of these countries using blockchain technology. Eventually, stock exchange, because blockchain technology allows for third-party authentication, and it allows for full transparency. Decentralized, is secure, it allows for easy storage. There's so many things about the blockchain, that so many properties of blockchain technology. I believe that within just 10 or 15, 20 years maybe, all the major world exchanges could be on blockchain technology, a decentralized exchange, as opposed to on servers that could fail. That when you got this amount of money involved, you're talking about tens of millions, billions of dollars being spent just in security alone to keep them secure. Or blockchain technology has the potential to alleviate a lot of that stress, a lot of that risk. So it's just so much more efficient. So, and with that happening, and now that's not the same thing as say Bitcoin, for example, or it's not the same thing as Ethereum. It's not the same thing as a cryptocurrency, but the cryptocurrency is not far behind. When you talk, part of the thing, a major expense to customers in here is settlement costs and all of these things. Bitcoin can potentially alleviate all of that cost for customers. There is a possibility that Ethereum or Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency could become the cryptocurrency of the world. It relieves so many, there is a case for that, and that is a possibility. It is a long ways to go from that. I'm just telling you that I can make a case and I can explain that, and I'll have a series coming up on that in a moment. But there is a potential that you imagine well, put it this way, 60% or 70% of the world's population is unbanked. It's a huge percentage. It's more than 50%, meaning they don't even have a bank account. And they don't have a bank account for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes it's because there's no their countries are not very stable, or they don't trust the banks. I'll give you an example. In my grandfather's generation, a lot of people, it was after the Great Depression here in the U.S., and a lot of people did not trust banks. My grandfather kept the majority of his life savings at home, which wasn't like $1 million or nothing, but it was not a small amount of money. And he did that because he, in the back of his mind, was always fearful that banks would fail. So in other parts of the country, people feared that sort of thing as well, not as much here in the U.S. So therefore, they don't keep their money in banks. They don't have access to banks, necessarily. They don't, or good banks, or they don't have easy access to banks. Or they've got weak economies like Venezuela and Brazil and all those places. Argentina. They've got weak economies, so they don't trust their national currency. So they start moving towards, those countries are already, those populations are already starting moving to more and more towards Bitcoin adoption, cryptocurrency adoption. So you imagine getting to a place, there is a potential that the majority of the world could be using Bitcoin, either combined with the national currency or simply all by itself. If that happened, we could see a $69 trillion market cap. I genuinely believe that. Or what if it wasn't 69 trillion? What if it was just 18 trillion? Do you know how much more growth that is from 150 billion? Like that's thousands and thousands of percent more. So that's mind-boggling potential, mind-boggling growth there. So the market potential when it comes to investing, and you're talking about Bitcoin investing versus traditional investing, there is some risk with Bitcoin investing, cryptocurrency investing. It's very volatile. If something can triple in a year, that basically means that, which this market cap has done, that basically means that it can also shrink far faster. It's not as stable. It's not there's not as many players, there's not as many people in it yet at this stage. However, it allows for anybody to jump in. You can take a portion of your investments right now, maybe some money that you don't mind, if you lost it all. Maybe it's the risky part of your investing. You could get started right now in any cryptocurrency you wanted, any Bitcoin, in Bitcoin or Ethereum, not any Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, any of these. There's hundreds of them. You can get into any one of them right now if you wanted to. Be a part of this, hold on to it, see what happens. There's a great shot, in my opinion, that it could go up, and it has a potential to go up significantly. I mean, personally, I'm considering starting to buy my kids Bitcoin now and just hold it in an offline wallet for them, because there's no telling where it's going to be at, the rate that it's grown. There's no telling where it's going to be at in the next 10 years. People always talk about, yeah, but it's tripled in 1 year, it's due for a correction or crash. You might be right. It might crash. But you know what? It might go up another 3 times or 4 times before it crashes. And when it crashes, it might just crash back to here. We don't know when the crash is coming, but all I'm telling you is a long-term potential is massive when you compare it to traditional stock market, traditional investing. Look, the traditional stock market goes up what? If it goes up 10%, 12% a year, if it hits low double digit gains in a year, that's an amazing year. People breaking out champagne, they're excited. But Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies can have a market cap that could potentially triple in a year. Currently, Bitcoin's price, I read an article that said on average, Bitcoin price has doubled since its inception every 4 months. You think about that for a moment. People thought it was overvalued at 400. There was an article that said, there's no need for, I think it was back in 2000 and, I don't know, like 14 or something like that, maybe 15. Bitcoin was trading at $400 a piece, and they were like, hey, there's no need to trade in it now. If you would have been telling people back then that $400 Bitcoin, when it was at, when it first reached $400, could just within a couple of years get to $4,000 or $6,000, nobody would have believed it. You just wouldn't believe it because we're not used to markets of this size being able to grow that much. There's ups and downs, but the key point I'm trying to make here is the market has far more opportunity to be able to grow. There's far more potential in growth in the cryptocurrency space. Clearly, I mean, it's not even the potential growth is, I mean, it is many multiples more than is what its potential when you come over here and look at these numbers. I mean, how much higher can the stock market go? It's taken all these years to get to $69 trillion worldwide. And the reason I think that, by the way, the market cap could go worldwide is because Bitcoin cryptocurrency isn't limited by borders. That's why. So, I mean, in the world, I think in the best possible scenario, it would be at $69 trillion. And that's at the absolute crazy, off the chart, best possible scenario. But is it possible? Sure. I think it's possible. Definitely. Thanks for watching. In my next video, we're going to be talking about basically cash flow coming from your investments. Think of, in the traditional stock market, dividends. And what's a similar maybe comparison to that? What kind of cash flow can you create investing in traditional stock market versus the cash flow that can be created in the crypto space or the Bitcoin space? In other words, the passive income that can be created from those two, and kind of compare the differences and the advantages and disadvantages of each. Stay tuned. I hope you're enjoying this series. I have another video coming out soon. Click the subscribe button below. Hit the bell notification icon so you'll get notified when my next video comes out. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. God bless.